The Chinese seem a lot more powerful now than they did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, in their willingness and ability to hit the Americans back. Is that a significant lesson that you think is appropriate right now?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think a few things have happened. The first is the Chinese have, kind of figured out, they've hit their stride a little bit better in international relations. If you remember, after Xi Jinping comes to power, he starts asserting control over the Communist Party. He starts pushing back against private business. And then he gets pretty aggressive internationally. The wolf warrior diplomacy, they called it. Very tough on India, very tough on Australia. Starts making nasty anti-American speeches. And he gets a lot of blowback. He gets a lot of blowback from the Australians, the Vietnamese, the Indians. And I think that even though, it's a one-party system and, he's a dictator, they realized this was not working. Secondly, the Americans, particularly under Trump, but even under Biden, started getting tougher and tougher on the Chinese. So they felt like they had to start finding, ways to combat. And all that, you put that all together, and I think China has now kind of tried, I wouldn't say it's gotten there yet, but it's trying to figure out a way to assert itself against an American policy of soft containment, call it what you will. And what it involves is much closer alliance with Russia, much greater degree of independence from American supply chains and American dependence, even if that means lower economic growth abroad. And finally, new alliances and strengthening of old alliances or relationships in places like Africa and the global south. That third piece has become much easier because Trump is so alienating so many people. The big power play is going to be, they're going to try and have better relations with Europe and drive a wedge between the Western alliance. Is that going to work? That's what we're going to have to wait and see. There isn't going to be any marriage between China and Europe, but I think you will see better relations than they've had in the past.
What the Chinese now have is a stranglehold of critical minerals, of exploitation, of supply chain. They've got dominant technology in electric vehicles, in solar, in wind, in nuclear, in a lot of places that the Americans have not been investing a lot for the past decades, that the Europeans have not invested adequately over the past couple decades. The Chinese do have that. And it seems in response to Trump's willingness to put a de facto trade embargo on them, that they're willing to hit back pretty hard. Surprising to you?
Not surprising. People have often wondered, this was the weapon they had. We've known this for a while. They haven't been willing to use it because they felt like, the Chinese need trade. They're not Russia. Russia is a kind of rogue regime that is happy to foment instability. By the way, it helps them economically because it raises the price of oil and commodities, and that's the Russian economy. It's basically it's a commodities economy. China is different. It's integrated into the world system. It's a manufacturing economy. It needs trade. It needs stability. So we always wondered, well, will they be willing to do this because it'd be disruptive? Well, the thing about Trump is that he's so disruptive and he's been so tough on the Chinese. As you say, the tariffs are effectively an embargo. Their feeling is we might as well, things are getting disrupted anyway, and we got to protect ourselves. We got to have something to fight back on. What we have come to realize is we cannot have sole dependence on the Chinese for these kinds of products. It does not mean we need to make them here. This is the big mistake I think we're making, which is we have these deep connections with Canada, with Mexico, with Britain, with Europe. Why don't we use them?